But I'm inspired myself. I mean, listening to my fellows, what's the new word, discussants. Um, it's really inspiring. The nuggets of wisdom coming out of here. At this time of the evening, I won't even try to sound like an intellectual because I'm not. Um, I've, I believe I'm a thinking doer. I cannot sacrifice, myself by overthinking. Neither am I going to be synonymous with just getting things done with that thinking. So it lends nicely, this thinking to a notion, whatever it means. The brief from Ubabu Utube was very terse, and hence I hope I'm not going to be all over the place, but I hope I will interpret what needs to be discussed correctly. And I promise I won't be long. This notion of renovating the house when you live in it is one that appeals to me greatly because it teaches you discipline of appreciating that the plane is in flight, you have got to fix it. The notion of what is to be done as if you are waiting for a new beginning, almost like this empowers you. It almost like this empowers you from appreciating that you're in a picture imperfect environment, but which can be changed. And the pain of changing things when you are immersed inside them is one that requires a lot of discipline and patience. We no longer have a privilege of looking at 1994, April, as a new dawn ahead of us. We're in it. We're in a Titanic. Either we fix it or we're going to sink with it. We're in flight. We've got to get on with it or we're going to crash. And I believe that we'll choose the latter options of floating and in flight. It's not going to be easy, in my opinion. If you look at the rapture of the ANC as we have known it, it started quite some time ago. As Unomdai was talking about the ANC, yes, and Natal, so in recent times, you saw the notion of the economic freedom in our lifetime becoming a clarion call that really rattled the ANC because that idea was very hostile to those who crafted the order as we know it today. And I can assure you that we're not going to let it just flow in that direction of economic freedom in our lifetime. And the failure to attain that in the way that the young people at the time will have conceptualized it clearly has led to the creation of the EFF and has led to many people being emasculated and thrown out of the movement as we know it. So what I'm saying is the more we dream about revolutionary things, that's when we'll feel the tree shaking. For so long as the tree is not shaking, someone is very comfortable, and you must know that we don't want to change anything. Why I'm saying that is because 25 years ago, maybe more than 25 years ago, in 1994, we already identified the triple challenges of unemployment, inequality, and poverty. None of them have been resolved. Unemployment has deepened, poverty has deepened. Of course, interventions have come in to alleviate, but poverty is deep. Inequality is even deeper. And then we set two additional challenges of corruption. And I will argue that corruption is fueled by not poverty, but inequality. People who are at the center of corruption are not poor people, but it is those that look what is in the next door's home. They walk in there, they see a sofa, and they want that sofa as well. And they've got capacity, they're in the bureaucracy, and they want it now, not tomorrow. But we now have corruption, it's endemic. In the Thabo Mbeki era as a president, you will not use corruption to define the status quo then. It was frowned upon. It was seen as an affront to his leadership. But we now talk openly. Even those that are at the helm of government talk about corruption as endemic. It's permeated all strata of society, all spheres. The judiciary, even though they resist, but they are corrupt. The clergy, business, politics, you name it, all spheres of society are affected by this corruption. And then, of course, the last one being poor economic growth. So things have not changed. They've deepened. And therefore, when we look at solutions, if we're going to bumble along with solutions that are not revolutionary, some people will be comfortable because they'll know, until my kids are educated and they can emigrate, they will not have resolved this thing. And the status quo, as I know it, will continue. Now, I can assure you, some people who are very rich, they are very comfortable, black and white. They're not, affected. Yes, their conscience says things ought to change, but protecting what they have, when we just scratch the surface, they're comfortable. It's okay. They can externalize, they can travel, they can do all sorts of things and continue. Now, I think I would like to also respond to what my fellow discussant said. The idea of liberation is not lost among our people. It certainly is not lost. If you look at the almost 2/3 majority that each of, also the combined ANC, EFF, and MKP represent, it attests to that notion. The Democratic Alliance, and Afrikaners Party, and all these other center-right, have got less than 2/3. But I just isolated these three dominant parties as still having majority. But what makes them to be so ineffective in dealing with the challenges that they are all committed to, of inequality, poverty, unemployment, is because someone is pulling the strings. Again, pulling the strings with the sole purpose of drive a wedge. You mustn't talk to each other, you must see each other as enemies whilst they eat. And I can assure you, because at the time that I was immediate past president of the Black Business Council, still having a lot of influence on their direction. After 94, we wrote a letter to the ANC saying we want to have a discussion. We also want to influence the direction they need to take, whether GNU or whatever form of government. It was very clear that the horse had bolted. Those who pulled the strings wanted the march to be in a certain direction. And so we're reaping the rewards of a divided 66% who don't want to see things in the same way. And because the people who are puppet masters preferred to be that way. And talking about plans, do we have a plan? Yes, the National Development Plan is there. It's very colorful, it talks all the right things. The only criticism I have about with the National Development Plan is that it talks about 2030. We are literally 3 years from 2030. And I knew, even when it was put on the table, that was my criticism. I said, look, uh, we're too short-termist in our thinking. When the successor to Mao Zedong in China was asked about the impact of the French Revolution on the Chinese direction, French Revolution will have happened 150 years earlier. When he was asked that question, he says, from a Chinese point of view, it's just too early to tell. 150 years later, it's just too early to tell what the impact of the French Revolution. So we don't plan 150 hence. We plan 6 years. Why? Because when the verdict is delivered, I want to stand up and people must clap for me because I was an architect. Even, Malaysian plan of, I think 2020 plan, which was developed by UMNO Party, not Suharto, Mahathir, many decades earlier. Is still alive? If he's still alive, is say rubbish. But when they developed that, it was not with the mind of saying, I need to take the glory when the 2020 date arrives. Many of the architects were gone by the time 2020 came and passed. So my view is that most of our plans sifuna ukutshala ummbila thina. Azwana ukutshala i-seed ye-oak tree. Sifuna ukuvuna in 3 months time. And makufika umoya indle siyakhayo, we are nomadic, we have to move to somewhere else. The foundations are not strong, also do not plan to be there for the long term. So that's a problem. We are too short-termist in our approach. Our generation needs to respond to the clarion call of defining its mission and being in charge, in facing the challenges that are imposed by the material conditions on us. Effectively, that's my closing remark, that I believe we are on the right track. Thank you so much, Xolani, with your seminal letter, because in my view, that seminal letter to the natives lit up the fire in our butts. Hence, we're here at this time of the evening to say what solutions can be found. Thank you.